on Australia's business channel. This is Mediaweek.
Hello, welcome to Media Week. I'm Ingrid Willinge. Ahead, we'll speak with the Director of Magazines at Pacific Magazines on the state of the industry and what's driving an improvement in ad revenues. Seven Network broadens its push to sell its formats internationally with a new joint venture, and Astra announces the winners of its industry awards. But first, a new Saturday paper has hit the stands in Sydney, Melbourne and Canberra on the weekend with the hope that print can still thrive in a now digital age. The Saturday paper will also be published on a website and a mobile app. Well, for more, publisher and editor of Media Week, of course, James Manning joins me now in the studio. James, good to have your company as always. What did you make of this Saturday paper?
Well, look, it's launched very successfully. You know, we've seen something which we hadn't heard of for a long time. It's sort of crowds in newsagents, if you like, on a Saturday morning looking for a print product. So it's great news, not just for the Saturday paper, but for the sector in general. They chose a good day to do it, the first day of the new compact editions of the Saturday Age and the Saturday Sydney Morning Herald. And they probably underestimated demand a little bit. I think they put out about 100,000 copies. From what we know and what they're telling us, maybe up to 90% of those outlets were sold out by lunchtime Saturday. And you had sort of people, I saw a lot of it myself, people in news agencies sort of complaining almost that, look, you've sold out too soon. How do I get a copy of this new paper?
So what does this tell us about print then? Because it is an interesting decision to launch a new print paper now.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Look, I think people like the idea, look, A, it's a new product, B, there was somebody giving them a message, look, we still support print. The numbers show us, look, there's still a big print audience out there, but the messages from the big publishers have been, look, we don't really care about this audience much, we want to sort of convert you to digital, but here was the publisher saying, no, look, we're here for the people who want the print edition. And I think that's the message that both News and Fairfax are also getting now, that, yeah, look, we do have a good print audience and let's hold on to them as long as we can.
You also mentioned we saw those compact versions of the Fairfax Saturday papers. Why the lag between the weekday going compact and the weekends?
Well, I just think they want it because the Saturday paper is still the sort of flagship, if you like, for the publishers, and they wanted to learn as much as they could from what happened at the weekday editions, and they'd taken those learnings. And I mean, look, the Saturday papers are nearly completely compact anyway. It was just that front news section that was still broadsheet wrapped around all those sections. They took the opportunity to rebadge the Spectrum section in Sydney. They rebadged that equivalent section in Melbourne, which used to be called Life and Style. So they've got two spectrums and they can potentially, you know, swap content, the same design pages. They refreshed the design of the Good Weekend, which used to be just called GW. Now they've spelled out the name on the masthead. So, yeah, just a general refresh. And it was just good news, and hopefully we'll see those numbers continue. I think the Saturday paper's increasing the print run to 150,000. So they'll be hoping some of those people that missed out last week will certainly go back and try again on Saturday.
Sure. All right. Well, let's continue our discussions in print now with talk that the decline in ad revenues in the publishing industry could finally be turning around, or at least lessening its decline. We're joined now by Peter Zavik, Director of Magazines at Pacific Magazines. Peter, thanks so much for joining us today. Now, although your ad revenues had a pretty tough 2013, your brands do seem to be holding up well against competitors, would you say?
Yeah, if it was a market share game, we'd be pretty happy if it was just a market share game, but it's not. Yeah, you're right, our ad share is holding up very well. Our circulation share is actually growing. But you know, the realisation is that our revenue base isn't dominated by that advertising category. Consumer revenue is still the biggest biggest proportion of our revenue base, and the challenges are there to ensure that revenue is retained, and that we can also grow both our consumer and advertising revenues.
Now, Peter, since you were last in here, you've had a nice little promotion yourself. You've got a new ad director doing your old job. Tell us a little bit about why did magazines get beat up a bit by media buyers, do you think? And what's your plan to maybe stop it and turn it around?
Okay, yeah, a couple of good points. I think we've certainly, there's been a massive overreaction to the ad share for magazines. It's certainly not reflected in our audience shares, and so there has been some major sort of transformational shifts happening in media agencies with where they're moving dollars. So I think, yeah, magazines have got an unfair rap. Newspapers, as we know, are much more challenged than magazines are, because news is news. The moment it's printed on paper, it's yesterday's news. But magazines are more of a lifestyle purchase, and we're seeing some really good categories, you know, those high-value categories that we operate in, still holding up very well in the print sector. But you know, we're going through a transformation project, and some of those moves you spoke about reflect that. You know, our legacy print business is still important to us, but we're moving to an audience-centric business rather than just print. And the headlines are great, except no one wants to write them. And, you know, media agencies, it's hard to get this point across to media agencies. Perhaps as an industry we haven't been that good at it or that fluent at it, but, you know, in essence, the major magazine brands are actually growing their audiences, they're expanding their footprints, you know, and they are looking much stronger in totality when you view them, you know, not just in circulation, not just in readership, but also in followers and fans and unique browsers. That total audience footprint is
well, that's
actually
what's
growing.
been interesting, I guess. We've talked on the show about the new readership measurement that came in this year, which found that there was bigger magazine audiences, but
Absolutely.
you haven't seen revenue rise yet. Will that come, do you think, when those figures are digested, or you've got year-on-year data to compare?
No, the revenue will come, and we just have to be smarter and sharper about the way we approach media agencies now. They just see us as a print business, and we have to get that across. We're having a lot of success with clients in getting that point across in the obvious areas where magazines were strong and still continue to be strong, and that is beauty, that is fashion, that is food, and fast-moving consumer goods. So we're having good discussions there with big advertisers about how we can. How they can associate with our brand. We're still a very attractive brand to a lot of those big companies, and then how we can take them through all our various platforms.
So why do you think people are still willing to pay for these magazines?
Well, I just think they're great value. I mean, you know, in the end, it's a $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 purchase.
Yep.
9, 10, 11.
Okay. The kind of magazines you read. But yeah, I think it's just a great value for money product. It's me time for a lot of people. You know, homemaker magazines in particular are still growing, and readers are still choosing, with all the digital, you know, options out there in the marketplace. Readers are still choosing to have that nice glossy paper and look at those beautiful, you know, lifestyle settings and rooms. And you know, I still think you know, it's a different read to a newspaper, and I think we're kind of categorised in one bucket, and I don't think that's quite fair.
An experience, perhaps it's hard to translate into digital as well.
Sure,
but,
exactly.
You mentioned your lobby group there before. The MPA came back to life after a couple of years in hibernation.
Yeah.
You've lost Robin Parkes, your leader, again. What stage are you at there? You're searching for a replacement? And
well, you're right.
Is everyone still committed to that?
Oh, totally. I mean, the three major publishing companies are definitely committed. We've been united more than we have ever been. Matt Standen from Bauer is the chair, and I'm there with Nicole Sheffield. Ex-Foxtel.
Life Media.
Yes, but ex-Foxtel.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, so, no, we're totally committed. Yeah, Robin did a great job, and she achieved what she wanted to over that period of time, and a new opportunity arose for her, and she decided to move. But we'll be, Matt's going through a process now of interviewing candidates, and we'll be making announcements fairly soon.
Peter, you've talked about some initiatives coming this year. Any details about impending launches?
Oh, we've got a long pipeline, really. I knew you were. Look, there's lots of interesting projects we've got there, and it's pretty exciting projects, to be honest. You know, the team are quite ramped up, and you know, there are different types of business models as well. So not maybe the traditional print model, but there are different models that we're looking at going forward.
Not just print.
Right.
Well, tell me about those digital editions. I mean, have you got a hunch what might happen there? We heard from Bauer this week they've had something like 1 million, I'm not sure what they worded, app sales or downloads, but they're getting a lot of transactions, if you like. Are they a bit ahead of you in that space?
Look, 1 million downloads, you've got to be very careful. You know, there's 5 to 6% conversion rates on downloads. I'm not too sure exactly what they were saying, but look, it's positive. And we see digital editions as an opportunity to also reach a different kind of reader, and also present our copy in a different way. So not maybe a traditional magazine, but an opportunity to add additional services and focus on key sort of topics and really expand on them. Plus, it's an opportunity to sell past issues. To be honest.
Does that happen much?
It does, surprisingly, yeah. People are going back and buying past issues.
Is the key to it keeping a lid on the expenses, though? Because you could easily spend a fortune, can't you, on what you're doing digitally, and
Yeah, no, we've certainly, if anything, we've probably been more cautious in the way we've gone about it, and we've always looked at the ROI. We have 8 of our titles on all the platforms now, and we'll have all our titles by the end of this financial year. And we're seeing some good take-up.
What about a magazine like Better Homes and Gardens, a mass market one? I know you love talking about this one. It seems to sort of defy wisdom that the days of mass market big selling titles are past, or is that simply just a special case?
Can't see how they're past. I mean, Better Homes and Gardens, right through all this advertising downturn, has maintained its circulation, its readership. And I think it's been really unfairly treated by advertisers who are now starting to come back. Their PR agencies never went away, by the way. Their advertising agencies moved money away, but the clients were still sending in the PR companies because they really valued that exposure they'd got in the beauty pages and the food pages and all those special areas where we can recommend products to our readers. So that's starting to come back, but Better Homes hasn't folded. Didn't miss a beat. Yeah, there is still an appetite out there for those magazines.
TV's sort of booming still, if you like.
Yeah.
Magazines aren't. You're part of a sort of multi-platform group. You've got a big number one.
And I'm very happy. I'm very happy to be part of a big platform.
Could you leverage the TV side of the business better? Is that something you're looking at?
Yeah, that's certainly part of our strategy going forward. If we could emulate Better Homes and Gardens, 10 or 15 times, it'd be brilliant. But there are other ways that we can leverage, and we've got a committed executive team in place there at 7 West where we can go and we can really put really tangible sort of arguments together as to how we can work going forward, and for the betterment of both, actually.
All right, Peter, thanks so much for joining us today. Peter Zavik there from Pacific Magazines. We do have to take a quick break here on Media Week, but coming up, we'll talk TV as the 7 Network continues to branch out internationally. Details on that next.